one of the little phrases that I go back to all the time is a Marianne Williamson quote: "Your playing small does not serve the world." And I think that for me, just the reminder that it's so easy to stay in our little cave. That's like the path of least resistance, to stay small, to take small steps. And while that is, I totally believe in small steps and like not jumping off a cliff, there is a moment where you have to go big.
Hello, everybody. I am Melissa Forziat of Take the Doughnut, here to help you get inspiration and get donuts. I'm a motivational keynote speaker, and today I am bringing you a Take the Doughnut interview with Love Richardson, who is the owner and lead floral designer at Rosemary Finch in Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome, Love.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's so good to have you here. Before we get into any more serious questions, I have to ask, what is your favorite donut?
So I have to admit, I'm a savory girl. I don't have a sweet tooth.
It's okay.
So I feel like I have to say an everything bagel, because I don't really go for a donut. I go for a bagel or something savory. Is that okay?
Way to find an answer that's the same shape.
Right.
I mean,
It's like, yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah, I support all answers really to that question. There's no bad answer. It's so good.
I love it.
Well, I said just a little bit about you to start us off, but tell us more about yourself. What should we know about you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born and raised in Nashville, Tennessee. I've been here for my whole life. I always thought I would leave, but here I still am. I grew up, in the arts. Like, I was very serious in ballet and playing musical instruments, and was always kind of the crafty kid. And when I went to college, I studied painting, art, and English literature, and didn't really know what I wanted to do. And it was when I saw my sister got married, and it was when she got married that I saw that floral design was a job, that I saw her floral designer in action, and I kind of thought, oh, I could do that. I had graduated, I was fresh out of college, didn't really have a direction, and that was the first time that I was inspired, that I had found something I was interested in. So I asked her floral designer for an internship, and kind of the rest is history. I was kind of that age that I had gone to high school and college here in Nashville. I went to Belmont and had, just I was in that phase that all of my friends were getting married, and I was able to just fall backwards into starting my own small business. So that was about 12 years ago that I started, or I guess it was a little bit more than that, but 12 years ago, I started my business, started doing weddings, and here I am 12 years later, still doing flowers for weddings. And
What
yeah.
an amazing journey. It's interesting when we're younger, somebody's like, what do you want to be for the rest of your life? When we're
Yeah.
used to giving these one word label
Yes.
answers, and then you start to look around and you realize how many different kinds and shades of jobs there are out there. Um,
Absolutely.
and you can build your own now, it feels like,
Yes.
if you don't see what you
Totally.
needed, build a business of your own and figure it out. So, oh, it's so
Absolutely.
amazing.
Yeah. Thanks.
Well, let's reset this for people who have never seen a Take the Doughnut interview before.
Yeah.
What's this all about? You might be asking. So, Take the Doughnut for me is another way to say carpe diem. It's all about going after the things you want in life. For me, I actually started with this very weird thing that happened to me in college where I left an actual donut on a table, but that became an object lesson for me and what it looks like to leave an opportunity behind. So I don't want to do that anymore. I want to take the donut. So this conversation is all about going after opportunity and what that looks like. And based on the story you just told, I know you're the right person to talk to for this. So
I deeply relate. Yes.
let me start with this question for you.
Yeah.
In general, how are you with going after goals? What is that process like for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have two recent examples that were huge things in my business. So here I am 12 years in, or so like about 10 years in, about 2 years ago, I've always had like freelancers working on my team. Like I will have big teams on the week of a wedding, but I hadn't had any I hadn't had any employees that were like my person only on my team. So that was one big goal, that I wanted to hire a salary employee. And then the other was, I was working in a small studio space and I really wanted to buy a building. I wanted to expand. So those were my two big expansive goals for years that I wanted to get to. And so both of them, I feel like looking back, I see that I was really clear about what I wanted, and I was willing to wait for the right moment. So I feel like so hiring the employee, I wrote down exactly who I was looking for, down to the small random little universe things. Like I said, I wanted a former volleyball player or an athlete to be on my team, because like 4 of my best flower friends were former volleyball players. And I was like, oh, maybe there's a correlation. I'm going to write that down. All sorts of stuff like that. I described exactly what I wanted. And then I also kept a really open mind, that it was kind of the combination of like the very specific, but then just cast the net wide. I might not know what I'm looking for, and hopefully I'll see it when I get it. So I did like 15 first interviews. And the 12th interview was Mackenzie. And when she came in, she was like, yeah, I was a D1 volleyball player. I literally, after her, and even, like we totally clicked in the moment, but her personality did not even come out totally. Like now we're like so close and it has been such a good fit. But it was just that little tiny thing. You never know what you write down in that goal that's going to be the trigger to show like, this is the right direction. This is the universe saying, yeah, let's go here. So I feel like that was the really nice balance of the detailed, but then open mind of, it might not look like what I'm expecting. And that's kind of what I saw with the studio too. When we were searching for that, it took us like 2 years to find the right building. Like I thought I knew, I was like, this is the year, I'm ready, I'm going to do it. And it just wasn't the right timing. We weren't finding the right building. And we kind of went through several iterations of how much we were willing to renovate versus not, how far from the city we were willing to be. And I think there is just a beauty to being patient and waiting for the right thing to appear. Because now the building we found is the most perfect thing. It's 7 minutes that direction. It's so easy and close for me. It's everything I could have wanted. But it was, once again, it was writing down, like we knew exactly all of the specs of how big it needed to be, what it needed, like flat entryway, like all the different things just to make it the perfect fit for me. But then just waiting and seeing. And honestly, in retrospect, I was not ready. I did not have the sales to support it until the year that it came. And I didn't know that. It was totally another universe thing of the right moment. So,
a friend of mine once described my brain, the way that my brain works, and she was like, it's a straight line, but it's a wide line, so you can do this to get where you need to go. And I feel like that's like what I'm getting from you also, because you have a lot of clarity of the direction you're headed in, but there is a lot of wiggle room in how you get there.
yes.
And so I think it's allowing these opportunities to come up for you that you're able to say yes to while still being on track. And it doesn't feel like it takes you completely away. It's
Absolutely.
so interesting.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So when you're going after something that you want, and you've even started talking about these things that are really sort of big long-term objectives, what keeps you motivated in that process?
Yeah, I love that question. One of my earliest business coaches, Shanna Skidmore, she talks about core motivators, and her 4 main ones are time, money, creative expression, and impact. And those 4, I love that. I think of that almost every day when I'm making decisions, when I'm looking ahead for my business. I think of that because she would always make you choose, like you can only focus on 1 or 2 at a time. And I was always selfish, like I want all of those. Like I want to be creative. I want to have freedom of time, freedom of money. I want to have impact. So I think that's something that I'm always like considering, what is most important to me in this moment, because I do want all of them and I work to get all of them. But what is the most important in this moment? Because we all go through seasons, like at the end of the day, I want to live a a happy, fulfilling, well-balanced life. I don't want to spend all of my time working, even though, of course, that's what I love. I'm a small business owner. I love working. I love what I do. But I also just want to have a good life and travel and have good friends and eat good food and exercise and just be well balanced. And so I think that's like where I am constantly looking for how to have the right boundaries. That's a motivator to me of like, what's the right boundaries so that I still am living a good life and building a business that supports that.
Okay. That's a really fun answer. For you, when you
Yeah.
think about going after these things that you want and
Yeah.
you think about creating these boundaries and all of
Yeah.
that, a lot of times challenges come up on the way. And I'm wondering for you if there's any particular brand of challenge. It just seems to keep coming up no matter what you do. Like, is there an Achilles
Yeah.
heel for Mary Love?
Yeah. That's a great question. I think it is really interesting being a small business owner and just the industry that I'm in is very seasonal. Like weddings come and go, like that we work really hard in the spring and really hard in the fall. And so my schedule, my life does not look like anyone else. And that's where I have to throw like I think the comparison game is a huge challenge of just putting on blinders and knowing that I'm creating the life that I want to lead. And it's a cycle. It is a seasonal thing that it's never going to look the same as anyone else's. That in the fall, I am not very social. I go home and rest because I am working really hard in this season. But then in the winter, I can have lots of times with my friends. I can take off and travel for a month and we do that. Like we've kind of figured out how to work within that rhythm and that routine. And thankfully, my husband is also self-employed, so he can work around my schedule, which is really nice. But I think it's really just the having the blinders on is a big one for me. Of just when you go after what you want, it's just not going to look the same as anyone else, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. So if you think back historically for you, what would you say is the biggest donut you've ever taken in your life? And it could be very recent, could be long past. What comes to mind for you?
Yeah. So an interesting one for me when my husband and I got married about 12 years ago, and we did the whole like living in a tiny apartment, and then we decided, oh, we need to buy a house. That's the next step. Bought a house in like not quite suburban, but like out of town, like a little bit further out of town. And we just felt like that was the next step. And we loved our house. It was a beautiful house, but we realized it wasn't quite the life that we wanted to lead. And so we did something that's very strange for native Nashvillians, and we put renters in our house and moved into an apartment where we pay rent, but we live in a high rise downtown and we absolutely love it. It is so different and it feels like so backwards from like what you're supposed to do, but it's one of the best decisions we ever made. It felt like, and that's kind of a random answer, but I love that. Like I lived in this apartment for almost 6 years and it's just, I love the walkability, the urban, vibrant lifestyle that it gives us. And yeah, that's kind of a funny answer, but that's the
It's
thing that
so
popped in mind.
that's so awesome. I mean, I think it just goes to show you again, like don't
Yeah.
compare yourself. Like that's what
Yeah.
makes you happy, and that is what you should do. And
Yeah, totally.
for me, like feeling comfortable where I live is a very important factor, and so
Totally.
it changes my outlook on everything. So it
Yeah.
sounds like you found the right way to make that
Yeah,
work.
totally. And I feel like the older I get, the more I care about location. Like location really does make a difference in just general happiness and satisfaction. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's where we are.
So is there a donut that you're taking right now? Something that you're working on?
This is such an interesting question for me in this season because I just got past these two huge ones. And I'm always a person that has lots of goals and like, what's next? And this year, my challenge to myself was to not rush into the next goal, to just enjoy the season. Because if you go too fast, then you don't enjoy. Like, I just created this beautiful moment that I hired the salary employee. I have the beautiful studio. And so my challenge this year was to not jump into what is the next thing. So for all of the conversation about donuts. My donut is just enjoying this year. I'm
And
just
that's a donut too.
relishing the
Yeah.
moment. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of small business owners listening to this are probably nodding their heads, and maybe people
Yes,
outside of small business ownership as
totally.
well. But it's like the idea that you are able to get to a point where you can say, I'm going to breathe here for a second,
Yes,
is like
totally.
a luxury that people wish they could get to that point. So congratulations to you also that that's a thing that you're trying to do right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love expansion and abundance. So it's like one of those moments that I'm like enjoying this moment, but next year there will be other things. Maybe I'll hire someone else. Maybe I will, I don't know what I'm going to do, but it's exciting to dream. I think that's the donut right now is dreaming about what's next.
Oh, that's beautiful. Well, okay, so there may be people listening to this who have a donut of their own they want to take.
Yeah.
Maybe they've started and they're, kind of a little bit into the process. Maybe it's still just an idea for them, like,
Yeah.
the dreams that you're dreaming right now. Let's sprinkle some encouragement.
Yeah.
And what would you say to those people? They have a thing they want to do and they're just not sure how to move forward from here.
Yeah. I really love mantras. I'm sounding super woo-woo in this conversation. I am not the most woo-woo person, but I love universe things and I love mantras. And so I one of the little phrases that I go back to all the time is a Marianne Williamson quote, "Your playing small does not serve the world." And I think that for me, just the reminder that it's so easy to stay in our little cave. That's like the path of least resistance to stay small, to take small steps. And while that is, I totally believe in small steps and like not jumping off a cliff, there is a moment where you have to go big and you have to say, this is what I'm doing. Whether it's literally when I started my business, I just started saying, I'm a floral designer. That was scary. Like that felt like a huge risk to just label myself as something that I was becoming. So your playing small does not serve the world.
Oh, that's so great. I like that expression. It's really
Yeah.
good stuff. Yeah. So if people want to follow you on your journey and see what that
Yeah.
next dream is going to turn out to be, where can people find you?
They can find me on Instagram at Mary Love Richardson. We are going into our biggest fall wedding season that we have ever had. So I'm going to be posting lots and lots of behind the scenes over the next couple of months, and there'll be a lot of fun flowers to see.
Oh, can't wait to see all of that. And everybody make sure to check out those resources. I'll be sure to put links in the description here so you can all find that easily. And if you liked hearing Mary Love's story, be sure to like and subscribe because there's plenty more inspirational interviews still to come. But in the meantime, Mary Love, thank you so much for joining me, for all of us, for joining all of us and for sharing your thoughts on taking the donut, on what it looks like in your world right now and where you're going.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Well, okay, everybody, you know what to do. Get inspiration, get donuts. Bye, everyone.
Bye.